All right. Once again, my name is Marilyn Bennett. I am VPPR for Showtime Toastmasters, and I want to welcome you all to this Fifth Monday workshop. This particular topic has been one of Showtime's most successful workshops, and I'm pleased to say that we still have our regular presenter for this topic with us tonight. Tonight we're
I'm
having
back.
Tonight we're going to be discussing good, better, best evaluations geared to pathways, which seems like an awfully good idea since that's what we're all involved in right now. I would take a moment now and let you know that Trish Blackwelder, our presenter, joined Toastmasters back in 1995. And since then, she has earned 5 DTMs under multiple educational awards, a definite overachiever. And she's completed her Pathways Mentor achievement. She was thrilled to embrace Pathways by serving both as an ambassador, guide, and of course, the District 3 Pathways Committee Chair. Tonight, she will explore how the Pathways Educational Program has delivered our best approach to date for training members how to become top evaluators. Please help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Trish Blackwelder as she takes us through good, better, best Pathways evaluations. Trish, it's up to you.
No pressure. Can I go on mute? Oh, no, I guess I can't. Okay. All right, I want to welcome everyone tonight. For those of you who have come back again, thank you very much. And for those of you who are here for the first time, very, very, very much appreciated and welcome. I see some new familiar names. Hansani, I see you today. I see Kat, a couple of people from my home club. So thank you very much for being here tonight. It's true. I'm going to take you through and peel back the onion layers of the Pathways Evaluation Program and hopefully help you all learn how to take the most advantages of or leverage of the Pathways Evaluation Forum. I can remember a time when I stopped by a club meeting to drop something off for a peer of mine, and I didn't want to disrupt the program, so I kind of snuck in the back and sat down and just waited until I could, make eye contact with my peer and let them know that I was there. And they introduced the next speaker, who happened to be a new member, giving her icebreaker speech. I thought, oh, well, this will be good. I love icebreakers. So I was all prepared and I listened to the icebreaker very enthusiastically and enjoyed the icebreaker. And when the evaluator came up then later in the program to evaluate her icebreaker, it was a totally shockingly brutal evaluation. And my heart bled for the new member. And I just thought, oh my gosh, how could they let somebody give such a critical, and not a critique, but a critical evaluation for someone's very first speech? So when I had the opportunity then to talk to my peer, she asked me, she goes, so what did you think of the, of our meeting? And I said, I have to be honest with you. If I were that person giving the icebreaker, I would quit Toastmasters tonight. I would never come back again. That was brutal. And she goes, oh, we're very tough here. And I went, well, that's great, but so tough with someone giving their first speech. I never visited that club again. I just always wondered what happened to that new member, and did she come back, and did she continue speaking? If you are familiar with this story and you're the member, please reach out to me and let me know you're still around. That would be great to hear. But it makes the point that a bad evaluation can cost us members. It can cost us guests that don't convert to members when they come to a club and they see what they perceive as a critical evaluation and don't want to be treated that way. So I think it's really important that we learn how to evaluate according to Toastmaster expectations, evaluate in a way that teaches each speaker where they can improve, but definitely encourages them to want to speak again. That's what I'm going to do my best to solve for you tonight with this updated presentation. There are a lot of reasons why we do Toastmaster evaluations. Because we have to. Yeah, it's in the writing, it's in the documents, it's in everything that they expect us to do. And that's what's on this slide. Why we have to do it? Well, the Toastmasters promise says we're going to promise to give helpful, constructive evaluations to our peers. I remember having a member in a club I was coaching that told me they would do any role but evaluator. And I accepted that. And when I came back the next week, I said, okay, I have to be honest with you. You're breaking the Toastmasters promise by not giving evaluations. And I want to know how you feel about breaking the Toastmasters promise. And they said, well, what do you mean I'm breaking the promise? And they said, well, the promise, look right here. It says that you will promise to give helpful, constructive evaluations. And I said, I have to do that? Yeah. So what can I do to help you want to give evaluations? And it changed the whole relationship and the members' perspective on the club. And I could stop holding my breath that they weren't just going to quit and walk out on me. But it does say we will promise to give helpful and constructive evaluations. It's also in the definition of a quality club from the Leadership Handbook, where it closes by saying, and that we're going to provide evaluations that help members grow and are motivated to achieve their goals. So again, uplifting, motivational, but still give a critique so they know where they have room to improve. And then also in the Leadership Handbook, it mentions under project speeches that we will promote giving evaluations based on project objectives. And that's really going to be grounded in this presentation tonight. Speeches are supposed to be from the Pathways Educational Program projects, and evaluations are supposed to be given based on those project evaluation forms. So I'm going to make sure you're well versed on the whys of how those forms work and how you can use them. The Toastmasters promise, the fact that we all want immediate and quality feedback because we learn quickly when we get the feedback immediately following the action that we've taken. We need an evaluation program that's flexible enough for evolving trends. There's a huge trend in professional speaking right now on storytelling, and there's projects and pathways around storytelling. You need to learn how to evaluate storytelling presentations because they are the trend today. And then one of the things that I always wondered about was, how do we evaluate speeches in our meeting? And then how do you evaluate so that you can critique a world champion of public speaking? Do you use the same criteria? Well, logic would say that you do, but there's amped up, there's raising the bar, and then there's the average Toastmaster at a meeting. The Pathways evaluation program will level the ground and give you 8 consistent criteria to always apply when you're looking at a speech. And then those 8 criteria you can find will align very nicely to the International Judges Form. And that is a separate workshop that I have taught where I show you how that all aligns up. But trust me at this point that this evaluation program can be used for everything from a brand new member's icebreaker speech to a world champion of public speaking. I hope you're now convinced why we have to learn how to do really great evaluations. So how are we going to do that? Before we actually do that, I want to hear something from you. I shared my first story about a brutally critical evaluation and how that impacted me, and I wasn't even the speaker. We all have our own journeys through evaluation experiences, and I would really love to take a moment here and have someone share the reverse of my experience. Have you ever had or witnessed an evaluation from an evaluator to a speaker that you could clearly see motivated the speaker to want to improve? And Marilyn, can you moderate who wants to speak, please?
If you have something that you would like to contribute at this point, if you'll just go ahead and go down to your reactions button at the bottom of your Zoom screen and use the raise hand, that will pop you right up to the top of my list, and I'll be able to know who wants to participate here. Ah, okay. Kathy has a story to share.
Well,
Hey, Kathy.
yes. Hi, good evening. Yes, I do. It's not really one particular story. It's just a method I have seen used by some of my fellow Toastmasters, very long-term Toastmasters. First off, they are not critical of new people. They say at the level you're currently at, you're doing fantastic. And as they move along, they say, as you move along, we'll get a little bit more critical, we'll get a little bit harder, but you will learn as you move along, and we'll go together through this process how to become more comfortable, more engaging, and a better speaker as you go along. So the best evaluators I've seen have, there is a evaluation form, but they fit the tenor of the evaluation, of giving the evaluation to that person's level. If I'm evaluating somebody who's brand new, I try to be very positive about it. If I'm evaluating somebody who's been around for years, I'm not negative, but I'm a little bit more you're kind of like, come on, you know better than that. You know, I don't say it so much like that, but I say, let's get it together here and focus a little bit more. I've had some people, I said, after, I give them their evaluation, and they come up to me afterwards. I said, well, did you practice or did you? And they said, well, no, I didn't think I had to. Well, okay, but that showed in your presentation. So I think it depends on the level of the Toastmaster. As you mentioned, the new people, you don't want to browbeat them, because you want to give them some courage and some excitement about coming back the next week.
I think you make a great point, Kathy. Yeah. I really do. And I see that Warren has taken himself off of mute, so I'm really hoping he's going to say something about now.
I don't have a specific story, but I will say that probably some of the great, while I want to, if you will, the suggestions for improvement, what I find really encouraging and eye-opening is when someone will notice something about the speech that I didn't even notice, a strength or something that I presented that I didn't know I had. That is probably when I get the biggest, I don't want to say the biggest charge, but that really makes the evening for me, to have somebody give me that feedback as well. Of course, it also helps to have some suggestions about where I am right now and how can I make it even better. It was a good story, but if you do this with the story, it'll build the tension a little more. Then there's a release or something like that. So I think what it is I really appreciate when the evaluator looks into the speech, sees some of the detail, and possibly sees detail that's there that are a slant that's there that even I didn't notice as the one who wrote it and practiced it.
That is an excellent point. And I have seen that Warren is more than happy on multiple occasions to accept his evaluators' recommendations and incorporate them into his work. So, and that's on us as speakers. Is there anybody else who has a story they'd like to share? Shelley, excellent. And then
Thank
Sally,
you,
I'll be with you.
Thank you, Marilyn. I appreciate it. I was in one of my club meetings and I actually gave my speech, and it was on giving back. And my evaluator was a very seasoned Toastmaster. And when he got up to give his evaluation, the first thing he said, he thought about giving back. He thought about being servant leadership. And he wasn't expecting what I was talking about. I was talking about doing my charity. What I had done since I'd grown up was giving back to the community, and he wasn't expecting it at all. It was at a Christmas party, not expecting it at all. And I literally had him emotional, and he actually had a couple tears. He got emotional doing his evaluation.
Wow.
And that helped me as a speaker, because I'm like, oh, I moved him and I didn't know that I could. Trish, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
But it was very hard for me, because I took that feedback that he gave me. So it was good, and I think about that. I still think about that. So
Well, it's
Good.
powerful
Thank you for
when you
sharing.
realize, yeah. We have one
You're
more,
welcome.
Trish. Sally has
Thank you.
a contribution.
Thank you very much. I just like to share that I have really had the opposite experience of what Trish shared in the example. And when I first joined Toastmasters, I didn't think I had any good qualities as a speaker. I was so nervous. I hated speaking, everything. But the evaluations were the key to my improvement and my confidence, because people were saying you were doing these things well. And then next time you can try these things. And it's really embodied that supportive and positive learning environment, I think.
Mhm.
And so, as I continued in Toastmasters, I always tried to, mirror that in evaluations I've given as well. So it's one of the key things of Toastmasters that has made a difference for me.
Mhm.
That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for sharing. When we get into contest season, we hear a lot of contest speeches, and those members are looking for something a little tougher. And I'll never forget a lesson that I learned from someone I heard giving an evaluation. They started off by asking the speaker if they could have their permission to do their best to help that speaker improve that speech for the contest. And of course, the speaker said yes, but it was asking that permission that gave the evaluator the opportunity to be a little tougher, a little more specific, a little more really to take it to the next level. I think you need to do this kind of thing. And that was another tip that I learned along the way. If I knew I was going to have to be a little tougher on a speech evaluation, I asked for permission before I started that evaluation. So that may be something that you want to add to your toolkit. All right. The point here is really that let's look at evaluations as being moments of truth experiences. They can make or break the speaker. They could make or break a guest making the decision to join or not. So every time we get up to evaluate, pause for just a moment and remind yourself, this is a moment of truth, crossroads point, and make sure that you are leaving the best possible impression that you can. There is a handout that Marilyn is going to upload for all of you now. I know this slide that I'm going to bring up has a lot of detail on it. So what I'm going to do is encourage you to take this upload and open it on your own computer device, whatever you're using, if you can, so that you can zoom in and see the details that you want to see more closely. Feel free. It's in the chat now.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So feel free to grab that and have it running in somewhere else on your screen so that you can follow along. Okay. Let's start at the very beginning then. Let's start with the generic evaluation resource. This is the one that can cover everything. It doesn't really specifically cover everything, but it is the foundation on which all the evaluation program is based on. I like to sum this up as this covers what you have to do as an evaluator, what you should say as an evaluator, and how you should rate the speech as an evaluator. So to do, to say, to rate is my little tagline for this. There are two things that an evaluator must do to evaluate a speaker's delivery or presentation. The first one is the purpose statement. The purpose statement on the evaluation form will tell you what the speaker was supposed to accomplish with this project speech. So observe the overall delivery of the speech and ensure that the speaker has accomplished the defined purpose for the project. I don't hear enough of this in the evaluations that I hear these days. Most people never look at the purpose statement, quite frankly. They don't read it before the speech starts. They just kind of, oh, I'm just gonna, do my typical old, cookie evaluation, what I liked, what I didn't like, and something in the middle, No. Your job as the evaluator is to evaluate whether or not the speaker met the purpose of this project. The second thing that an evaluator is supposed to do is make sure that they're listening. In the notes for the evaluator section of the form, it's telling you specific things that you should be listening for, such as well-organized, well-delivered speech content. What style is it being delivered in? Humorous, informational, historical. Is the speech content and style complementary to the content of the speech? So observation and listening are your two responsibilities. I love it when I'm looking around the room and I see someone who's evaluating the speech and they're doodling, to the side. And I'm wondering, are you really paying attention at all then to the speaker? So I pay closer attention to their evaluation to see if they really were. Most of the time, I think that they were probably doing okay, but every now and then I catch one that really wasn't paying that close attention. So the purpose statement and the notes for the evaluator are two things that I am encouraging you to pay closer attention to. The general comments area is where you may doodle a little bit and start scratching down things that you want to say in your evaluation. There are three sections in the general comments area: the you excelled at, you may want to work on, and the challenge yourself. I've added the smiley faces here. The green is the area of things you want them to continue doing. The red space is with the things that you want them to stop or change about how they're doing the delivery. And the yellow face goes with the recommendations that you're going to make. An area you might want to consider doing, or an example of something you might want to consider doing. And you can scratch down those notes then on the form so that you have some of your content for your oral evaluation already captured for you to be able to incorporate. Let me pause here and see if there are any questions about this first page of the evaluation.
Apparently, people are very confident about this one.
Okay. Showtime does 2 evaluations for every speech that's given in our club, and we call the A evaluator and the B evaluator. And we typically challenge our A evaluators to spend a lot of time on this fundamental area. How well tactically did the speaker meet the purpose, the objectives of the speech, and then the stop, start, and continue areas of extra comments that they want to make. Now we're going to go to the 3rd page of the evaluation. We're skipping page 2 for right now. Going to the 3rd page of the evaluation, where you get the rating criteria. These 8 criteria you'll find as standard in almost every evaluation form for every project. They do change a little bit for some projects, and we will talk about that in a moment. But these are the 8 criteria that if you lay down an international judging form, you can generally say, oh, these criteria are close to being the same. And this is why I believe you can now use the evaluation program to evaluate everything from a brand new speaker to the world champion. The benefit of these 8 criteria is that they're going to give you a standard and a consistency about how we all evaluate speeches. Now, that's not to say that we're going to become cookie cutter evaluators. It just means that when you have standards and consistency, it's a whole lot easier to teach people through role modeling how to become better evaluators. Content and style are 2 words that have always been very hard, even for judges and for evaluators. But these 8 criteria are helping the evaluator to better understand what things contribute to content and what things contribute to style. And then learning how to use the score or the rating is how you learn to differentiate between good, better, and best deliveries from speakers. Let me pause here to see if there's any questions around this before we continue. Did they tilt?
Hey, it's Shelley.
Hello?
No, no.
Shelley.
Shelley's speaking, and then we have Kat. So,
Okay.
I was taught way back long time ago to do the sandwich method. Now, is that okay?
The sandwich method is just a type of delivery.
Yeah.
Okay. For
Okay.
example, I could have a humorous speech, or I could have a speech of interest from research. Okay. That is the style of how I'm doing it. If the style of your delivery is cookie cutter, or not cookie cutter, but a cookie approach, then that's your style for the delivery. What I'm going to be listening for in your evaluation is whether you're speaking to these 8 criteria.
Okay. Thank you. Because
You're
I can tell you that usually when I do this, when either I'm evaluating or I'm evaluating somebody, I don't even cover all 8.
And you may not be
Why?
able to cover all 8, but you
Okay.
should try to cover as many as you can.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
hi, Kat.
Hi, thank you. My question is, so then does a 3 accomplished better also mean average?
Kat, I should pay you for that segue. Hold that thought for just a moment. Back to Shelley's point, though, the style and how you deliver your evaluation is your personal style. It's just like the style a speaker has when they're delivering the speech. But these are the 8 criteria that are recommended that you try to make sure you have observed, and where appropriate, you have comments to provide on how well they executed, how they could improve in that execution, or maybe how they could even change that execution to something that would work or be more effective for the speaker. So I hope that helps clarify just a little bit.
Thank you.
Trish,
Go ahead.
I wanted to kind of ask a clarification question. I know a lot of times we'll hear an evaluator who will combine, like, say, for example, eye contact, gestures, and vocal variety. They don't spend a great amount of time on it, but it's more a case of they comment on it. You did a good job, and then they move along. So that is that kind of addressing of it, the very brief addressing of one of those points, that's consistent with still following the criteria.
Yeah, it still is. Again, a speaker may not demonstrate all 8 of these criteria. Well supported is very appropriate in a research-driven speech, but it's not as easily to evaluate in other types of speeches. And we're going to see how that changes a little bit as we use different evaluation forms. But speakers' comfort level, if I'm evaluating a DTM, I'm expecting them to have a certain comfort level. And I probably wouldn't mention it if I think that they're scoring in a 4 or 5 range, if I'm rating it as a 4 or 5. But if I see a DTM get up and it's just really is uncomfortable, and I'm thinking about scoring them down as a 3 or even a 2, then I definitely need to include something about that in my evaluation. Does that help?
Yeah, that actually does. And it doesn't look like we have anybody else with their hand up. So I'm
Okay,
going to invite
so
you to continue.
let's take advantage of Kat's segue then. Exactly, Kat. A 3 is average. You'll see that a 3, if you pull out all the 3s on the rating sheet, you'll see that that's actually a good speaker. Their spoken language is clear and easily understood. They use tone, speed, and volume as tools in their delivery. They effectively use eye contact to engage their audience. They demonstrate awareness of the audience's engagement and needs. They appear comfortable with the audience. They engage the audience with interest and well-constructed content, and their speech topic is well supported by content and the speech delivery. So a 3 is a good thing. Woo! Okay. When the ratings first came out and I was listening to people comment about the 5-point scale, there were people that were just afraid to give anybody a 3. And I kept thinking, why? 3 is solid. Now, 4 and 5, you're better than solid. You have some unique expertise that you demonstrate during your speech delivery that moves certain categories up to a 4 or a 5. And if you're struggling with a speech, now, I'm a 5-time DTM. I've given bad speeches, and I'm really surprised when I get my sheet back and I haven't scored a 2 or a 1 in areas that I know I did badly in. But you can't be afraid to do that. Well, you have to be considerate of the expectation in your club. In Showtime Toastmasters, because we give tough evaluations, I would not hesitate to mark someone at a 2 if I really thought it was appropriate. I've never had to use a 1 on anybody yet, but it's there, and I could if I felt that it was appropriate to do so. Okay, so 3s are good. I expect that most speeches that we evaluate in our club are going to be at a 3 or higher in most categories, and perhaps in a category that a speaker is really struggling with, you might see an occasional 2. But 3 is your midpoint. 4s and 5s are above average. 1s and 2s are below average. Anybody going to crucify me? Robin's got her hand up. She might.
I was gonna say Robin's not gonna. Robin's got her hand up. I don't know if she's gonna crucify you or not.
Come on, Robin.
No, I'm not going to crucify you at all, but I do have a question, and something that I struggle with sometimes is this question about audience awareness. And, you know, it's one thing if you're in person in a room to be able to get a feel for it and what people are kind of shifting in their seats about or whatever. But how do you deal with that or tell in an online environment like this? Do you have any thoughts?
The online environment is the most challenging. I won't argue that point at all. It's a lot easier to speak in a room in person because you can sense the energy level too in the room from your audience. That helps as well. But if you're looking at the gallery, if you do have the gallery view up, you can watch your camera, speak directly to your audience, but your peripheral vision will see people squirming, people smiling, people, you know, laughing. You'll see reactions in your peripheral vision. And you have to get used to that. You just have to get used that that's what you'll see. When I'm doing a workshop like this, unfortunately, because of what I'm running on the computers that or the computer screens that I have, I don't have the visual content or the visual display of the gallery anymore, which is why I rely on Marilyn so much to tell me what's going on. I can see when hands are raised, but I can't see your faces like I can when I'm in a regular online meeting. So when I'm speaking in an online meeting and I don't have to run multiple displays of information for me to, follow along in my presentation, then I'm much better able to look peripherally and still focus on the camera because that's my audience, and peripherally look to see how the movement and the facial expressions are going. That's my trick. I hope it helps.
Yeah, it's just a challenge sometimes. Makes
It
sense.
is, and it takes practice.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yay, showtime. Okay. Kathy has her hand up, and then Shelley is after Kathy.
Okay.
Well, actually, sorry, I didn't have my speaker mic down. Excuse me. Actually, my question was just answered, because the hardest thing for me to do in online meetings like we have in Showtime, and I'm sure everyone has noticed this, is to I think I'm much better in live meetings. I talk to the people, I can gesture to them, but when you have to look at that camera and you don't have your audience in front of you, and I so often find myself putting my hands face down to try and see the people, that's where I'm having issues of trying to break that habit. I keep on looking at everybody. And that's not what you're supposed to do. So that's you actually answered my question just now, Trish. It's just a peripheral vision type of thing that you have to develop, evidently, because you're looking at this little speaker at the top of your computer, and it's just like there's no personality there at all to act from. So that answered my question. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. I was just going to say, I always just imagine everybody is just having a wonderful time and enjoying all my speeches.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're all just, sitting there with bright smiley faces and everything. Yeah, works.
Okay, Shelley.
Thank you. Thank you, Trish. On the comfort level, now I know you talked about if it was a DTM, you might score them lower, right?
I
Well, the
expect more
one
from
that,
a DTM.
yes, and I do too. Here's the thing in one of my clubs, and I want you to give me some feedback on when I evaluate this person. He's a DTM, right? I have never once seen him give a speech without a PowerPoint.
Okay.
He's an IT guy, so you know his comfort level is with the PowerPoint itself. And for me, maybe I'm wrong, but for me, the PowerPoint to me is like his crutch because that's where all his notes are. And that's how I see it. Now, if I evaluate him, I was going to challenge him to not use it. Is that appropriate or no?
All right. First is I'm going to just capture. You said when I evaluate him, let's be absolutely clear. You are never evaluating the person. You are always evaluating the person's presentation. Okay. And I know you know that. I just had to catch you on that because I don't want any of the newer members that are here to misunderstand. We always are evaluating the presentation, not the speaker.
The person.
Okay. So having said that, there's nothing wrong with always using a PowerPoint. Okay. It's like hearing that you always have to stand to give a speech. I don't believe that one either. Okay. I am not standing now, and I have no intentions of standing for 90 minutes unless it's in person and I'm going to work the entire room. So it doesn't, here's where I would draw the line for myself as an evaluator. If the PowerPoint is distracting from his speech or his delivery of the speech, there's a comment that needs to be made there. There's a suggestion that has to be taken. If the PowerPoint truly enhances and he's not reading the slides to you, he's just displaying something and then still talking with you, the audience, he's not dependent on those notes. Those notes are a visual that he thinks are going to be helpful to the audience, which brings us to the last question. Are the slides helpful? Do they clarify something that is done better visually than can be done in words? So those are three areas that I would use to determine whether or not I'm going to recommend, that he continue using them with changes, or that he consider trying to do one without the PowerPoint, but you can't tell somebody they can't use PowerPoint, and that you can't do that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Trish. I owe Connie an apology. She had put a comment in the chat and I unfortunately had missed it. So let me just go ahead and read this real quickly. I'm only about 15 minutes late, so my apologies, Connie. She says that she thinks that the best practice, clubs should have the evaluator read the purpose objectives. In her experience, this practice generates better and deeper evaluations. And since Showtime does that, I couldn't agree more.
Yes. Remember, there was always a best practice that the speech evaluator would read the objectives before the speaker was, brought up to the front and introduced and started their speech, so that all the members that are in the room, guests included, so all the people that are in the room can more effectively evaluate how well the speaker met their objectives in their evaluation. Remember, we always had evaluation forms laying on all the tables in the room. And so that is the best practice that doesn't go away because we are doing virtual meetings. Everybody can download the speaker's evaluation form and complete an evaluation and send it back to them. The question is, do you want to do that? There are clubs that are telling people to put their evaluation feedback in the chat and send it to direct to the speaker. And I'm not going to say that's a bad habit, but I am going to say there's a risk there. If the evaluator can't download the chat to keep the feedback, then the feedback is immediately lost. There's nothing for them to take away. And the idea of making sure we always provide both an oral and a written evaluation to a speaker is to give them that written takeaway. I keep every one of my evaluations. I save them with my written speech. I often revisit speeches, and the first thing I do is I pull out the evaluation form and look at the feedback that I got from the evaluator, and then decide how I'm going to change and enhance the speech. So that is a tool that speakers need to be able to walk away with. Okay, so let me just wrap this page up. There are no perfect speakers. Our best evaluators have learned how to differentiate skill mastery and coach for performance with specific feedback focused on improvement. And the evaluation form here is now giving us a consistency of 8 criteria that are available for the evaluator to have to speak to. When you complete the evaluation form, make sure you do the stop, start, continue area on the first page, and make sure that you do page 2 where you do the ratings. And if you have any more specific comments for that particular category, there is room for you to put brief comments to the right. Okay? By doing this, we should start avoiding those old whitewashed speeches. Oh, it was great. It was so wonderful. I'm so glad. I can't wait for you to speak again. Thank you so much. And sit down. Okay? I don't want to hear any more of that. And we're also teaching critical thinking skills to new members to help them become top evaluators. So use both page 1 and page 2 in your evaluation form or in your evaluations. So now, how does Pathways flex when the speeches are a little bit different? I'm going to move through this section a little quicker just to show you. You already have the handout, so you see the 8 criteria that you can compare against when we move from slide to slide. All right, icebreaker speech. The most critical evaluation that we do in this organization is an icebreaker evaluation. And you'll see that the well-supported area criteria has to drop. There's only 7 criteria here. And the reason is well-supported. This is their first speech. I don't expect them to have done research and pulled it all together and digest it and do analysis and present that as part of their speech. Oh my goodness, we just want them to get up there and survive their first speech. So don't expect them to have a well-supported content. Look just basically for the 7 things and which ones that they were really strong at. The whole purpose here is to get them to not only speak, but to want to speak again. And for DTMs, well, I'm going to talk about them in just a moment. Notice what the purpose of the icebreaker is: to introduce yourself to the club and learn the basic structure of a public speech. Okay, now, DTMs should know the basic structure of a speech by now. But if they don't follow it, they should be critiqued for it, okay? And an effective evaluation of their speech and their delivery style. Every DTM is still getting evaluated on their effectiveness of their speech and their speech delivery and style that they've chosen to use. So DTMs, let me talk to you. If anybody should be bored doing icebreaker speeches, it would be someone like me, or someone that has 7 DTMs or 9 DTMs or 15 DTMs. There are people out there that have been in Toastmasters for 40 years. They can still introduce something about themselves to a group and do so effectively in a 4 to 6 minute time frame. If you don't want to call it an icebreaker, I'm fine with calling it a 4 to 6 minute reveal yourself project. Okay? Let's not get hung up on the fact that it's called an icebreaker. It's a 4 to 6 minute speech where you will reveal something about yourself. Okay. For the new member, you are given 7 criteria that you could choose to speak to. Perhaps they do really good with vocal variety. Tell them that they do really good, but maybe they don't look like they feel so comfortable. So maybe you'll need to comment on that. But you won't have to critique whether or not their speech content was well supported. Just the fact that they got through it is the objective here. All right. Level 1 projects. The new level 1 project is now Speak with Purpose. In this project, the speaker is supposed to have defined a purpose for their speech, a purpose that they're trying to convey to their audience, and they're supposed to share that purpose in advance with their evaluator so their evaluator can evaluate whether or not they achieve that. So there is a speech purpose statement that is supposed to be provided to the evaluator. Then you still have a project purpose, basic methods for writing a speech, and a defined purpose. So that's an exercise they're going to be evaluated on how defined their purpose was, and to present a well-organized speech on any topic. And then the goal is to meet their express purpose statement with a well-executed speech. I have seen Speak with Purpose projects being done in clubs. They are not doing this. And this is the big learning crossroads in this project and why it's in level 1. All of us need to know, what is the purpose of our speech? What are we trying to convey to our audience? And did we hit the mark? This is an excellent project in level 1, and it's another good reason why starting over with another path and doing level 1 projects is just good, fundamental speaking. Notice that the well supported category has also been removed, and it's been replaced with interest and purpose and general speech purpose, because the evaluation is the key point for the evaluation here is whether or not the speaker delivered according to the purpose statement they defined and provided to you. Okay? Oh, I'm trying not to use K anymore. Questions? No? Moving on. Voice and body.
Oh, wait, Lauren just came up.
I'm having trouble getting the hand up in the window.
Okay.
Trish, this may be a really, I don't know if this is, well, 2 questions for you. One, now we've seen you do lots and lots and lots of speeches. As part of your preparation, do you write a speech purpose statement?
I do.
Okay, good.
I won't say I always did before, but having worked this project now in the new level 1, I see the value in it. And so I do now on my template include, what do I want to accomplish with this speech?
Okay. And you answered my second question with that. What do I want to accomplish with that speech? I think I can define a purpose if I keep that question in mind. Because I was going to ask for a sample purpose statement, but I think that what you just said there will help me a lot more. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Was there another question?
Yeah, it's Shelley. I got another question, and this is just real quick. You talked about us DTMs, and for me, I find it hard for myself to evaluate a DTM, especially if they've been around forever, and I can't find anything wrong with their speech to give them an opportunity to work on. What recommendations do you have?
Okay.
Or you're gonna
Oh,
go on
I-
those later?
Just
I
make sounds
evaluate
right.
Trish all the time. Can I help?
See, let's see if I hit the mark. Every time I teach evaluation, especially when I'm teaching evaluations of world champions, I always reiterate this statement. There are no perfect speeches. And our job, especially as DTMs, more advanced Toastmasters, is to find the area still where that speech could be improved. A world champion will tell you, just because they won with a speech, that doesn't mean that speech can't be improved.
Okay.
So, I understand what you're saying. I hear you. But I love evaluating the DTM.
Well, no,
It's a
'cause-
challenge for me. Can I find something? Can I really find something?
And I
Yes, I
think
hear
part
you.
of the challenge to actually being willing to do that is
Mm-hmm.
to remember that when we evaluate that presentation, if they're having
Right.
an off day, it's not going to be their best speech. I mean, Nancy Starr Cassidy can wallop out some speeches, but I've caught her on some stuff too. So
Mhm.
you just have to look at the presentation that day. And that helps a lot, Shelley.
Okay. Because I know people, what they do is they've heard the person give a presentation before, and
Mhm.
they go back. They don't necessarily evaluate that person on what they just presented. They'll go back, oh yeah, I've heard you so many times or so many years. And I'm like, no, you got to do now, not back then.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And let me jump in
So-
right there.
Sorry.
For all the judges in the room, that is the halo effect, and it can't happen. You have to discipline yourself to say, I don't care if I've heard this person 50,000 times before. I have not heard this presentation they're giving right now. And then you evaluate. You cannot, you must resist and not allow the halo effect to enter into the thing here. If I've ever made a comment, it's something about some weird thing that they did during the speech that I've never seen them do before. And to use your earlier comment, you're better than that. I've never seen you introduce that weakness into a delivery before, so don't do it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we have
Thank you.
two hands up. We have Sally and then we have Connie. So, Sally.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to add on the, evaluating a speech from a speaker that has a lot of experience. Something that I've learned is that if you have an opportunity, you can ask some other members what they think of the speech.
Mhm.
So at some meetings, we might have a break or even in a chat, private message. And sometimes I've learned things that they've observed that I can steal and put into my evaluation if I'm in that situation where I think, oh, they've done such a great job, I'm not sure what to evaluate here. So I think, but I agree definitely with Trish that we, that's what we're here to do is to help people improve and have to find something.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm not going to say I've never stood up in the room and said it was really hard to find something, but that was my job, so I did find a couple of things, and maybe it's a real short evaluation, but still, that is that's just a way to kind of laugh at myself before I start the evaluation. Say, okay, you really challenged me.
Yeah, there you go. Compliment them and then pull the rug out from under them. Okay, Connie, you had a question.
Yeah, with the purpose statement, I know that what I'm trying to work on personally is making sure that I'm tying that in throughout my speech. Before, I thought maybe just, having in my introduction, but what tips could you provide in doing that so that it's consistent throughout? the speech.
Okay. Let's try to use something really relevant. When I was working on this presentation, those of you who keep coming back know that Good, Better, Best Evaluations is kind of one of my namesake presentations. It's been so popular, and Showtime hosts it very regularly as a result. But I have to keep it fresh. I have to, come up with something still a little bit new. Pathways has given me an opportunity, because I still hear about so many people that aren't really using the Pathways evaluation forms. They're still falling back on the old, what I saw, what I heard, what I felt, and, what I suggest you do to improve. And that was a good, simple way to learn how to evaluate, but we can be so much more specific in how we're evaluating by using these criteria and keeping these forms in front of us and filling them out. So when I was putting together a refresher on this, I saw this evaluation form, and I said, yeah, I need a purpose for this workshop. And my purpose statement is, will I, can I, how can I, what do I need to say to convince people to quit ignoring the Pathways evaluation forms and bring them into their meetings with zeal, and teach how to do truly effective, specifically driven evaluations, because we're going to hold our members accountable for doing projects and meeting the project objectives. I don't know how many of you will do that. I don't know if I'm going to hit that mark tonight, but I'm hoping that I hit that mark tonight with some of you at least. And I truly, truly want to hear from you if you have taken this back and encouraged your clubs to use Pathways evaluation forms. That'll be like seventh heaven for me hearing that one. So there's a purpose statement for you, Connie. I had a purpose statement when I was putting this presentation together. I will know whether I hit it or not by how many of you look forward to using a Pathways evaluation form the next time you're an evaluator. We'll see.
Okay, and we have a couple more hands up.
Oh, okay, and we got to move on.
Okay, Robin and then Shelley.
Okay.
Actually, never mind. Just Robin. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll try to be quick on this one. One of the things that I try to do when I'm evaluating on the criteria is figure out what should a 5 and a 4 and a 3 be in reality, or what I see. And I tend to say, in order to get a 5, you better be darn near a keynote winning contestant, speech contest, whatever. I mean, I expect you to be really, really good. And that may or may not fly necessarily with some people. And I wouldn't do that to a new person, but somebody who's been around for a while. Is that fair, or am I being too hard?
No, I think I think you're headed in the right direction. I might encourage you to instead say a 5 is a role model speaker. They're the speaker I want to put in front of new members who are trying to learn how to be, the best speaker they can be. So a 5 is a role model for me.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I've never actually said that way, but great. Thank you.
Yeah. But, I did have an opportunity. I was listening to a speech. Oh my gosh, it's been a while, but I remember making a comment during my evaluation. When you hit this section of your speech and how you delivered that, I want every member in Toastmasters to see how that is done. That is a skill that is your skill to own from here forward, so I have used those words. Okay, moving on. Another project in the new level 1 is the Voice and Body project. And I want to make sure that you all notice that there's actually multiple evaluation forms for this project. As a whole, there's a purpose where the speaker is supposed to practice using vocal variety and body language to enhance a speech. Notice, enhance a speech. And then you're specifically to watch for their awareness of their intentional and unintentional movement and body language. However, the speaker can also choose to want to be evaluated only on voice or only on body language. And there are separate forms for that type of evaluation that won't include the other skill as part of the criteria and the feedback. So make sure that you are checking with your speaker to see if they want voice and body combined, or if they want just voice or just body, so that you are sure you are grabbing the right evaluation form for that speech. And that's the biggest takeaway on this one that I want to make with you. The call outs here, instead of well supported, you'll notice, are the unintentional movement and the purposeful movement. I was watching a speech recently where the intentional movement was very effective in the speech. The other side of the coin was in between the very effective gestures, there was unintentional movement. And I don't think they realized that they were doing that. But when they had a purposeful gesture, it was great. The unintentional was distracting. So make sure that you are watching for both intentional and unintentional movement when you're doing voice and body, or body evaluation. All right, and then we have the evaluation and feedback project. In this project, the speaker will give a speech, they will receive feedback, they will refine the speech and re-give it, hopefully with the same evaluator again, so the evaluator can truly comment on how well they incorporated their feedback. Now, if that can't be arranged for, the speaker should be encouraged to provide a copy of the first evaluation to the new evaluator, so they have a basis on which they can rate how well they incorporated the feedback from the first evaluation. Just pointing that out there, VPEs in the room, train your people so that they get the maximum benefit from this project. Notice again that well supported has been replaced in the criteria with applied feedback. So now it's giving you a rating for how well they applied the feedback from the first speech. And that's how each of these evaluation forms continue to flex based on the project the speaker is doing. And lastly, as part of the evaluation and feedback project, you have the first speech, you have the second speech, but the evaluator also is supposed to receive an evaluation of their evaluation. And I'm going to encourage all of you and all of your clubs to keep this form available and start giving evaluations to every speech evaluator. Assign someone to give them an evaluation on their speech evaluation. They can store these, they can count them when they get to this level 1 project and apply it to this level 1 project. But we will continue to raise the bar on evaluations when we provide effective feedback to our evaluators. All right. The wrap up. Personalize your language. You are speaking to the speaker. You are educating the room that you are speaking to the speaker. So use I, me, and you, okay, so that you are having that conversation with them. If it's always, I believe that you could have improved this by doing this, or my reaction to this part of your speech was this, or I suggest that you improve. It's really your opinion. They can take it or leave it, but you have shared how the speech impacted you. Make sure that you choose your words carefully. What I saw, what I heard, what I felt, our original legacy evaluation forms are still applicable here. Choose your words carefully. What I saw was a really bad body movement. No, that's not how you're going to word that. What I saw was an area where your body movement with this particular phrase might be more effective if you did this. Okay. Evaluate the speech, not the person. I've already mentioned that one, so I won't belabor that one again. Promote self-esteem. We are here to motivate and encourage speakers to want to speak again and want to improve. Whitewashing will not help. That's being disingenuous. That means that you are covering up, concealing, giving a false appearance that it was a great speech when it really wasn't, that you're lacking in candor, that you really can't be trusted for speaking the complete truth. So be careful to avoid becoming disingenuous or whitewashing because you have a hard time giving a critique. Okay, that is the skill that you're trying to learn as an evaluator, and here is your best opportunity to practice it. Comments, questions? I haven't been crucified yet. Okay.
If it helps, I haven't seen anybody glaring at you, so.
Well, that's good too. Okay, I'll take it.
Oh, wait, Shelley's
All
got
right.
her hand up.
While Sally has her hand up and we let her speak, I'm going to encourage everybody to take your cameras and take a snapshot of this particular slide. It's where you can find all the resources that I was using to pull this presentation together. So help yourself. There still is a D3 Pathways online library, although I don't believe anybody's doing maintenance on it these days, but there's still a lot of helpful assist sheets out there around evaluations and some of the old Pathways evaluation presentations that were done. So every now and then I poke in there and pull something out and just bring it up to date. So, woohoo! All right, Shelley.
I just want to say thank you for this great presentation. I learned a lot. I learned probably more than I have in the last 12 years being a Toastmaster. But I think doing effective evaluations does help you become a better speaker, but also it helps you become a better mentor, a better coach. And if you're like a manager at work or you have to get feedback, it helps you do that too, because then you know how to give the feedback and how to give it correctly. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Shelley. And Prez Cecilia, the past world champion of public speaking, has his own tagline. If you want to be a better speaker, be a better evaluator. When you can learn to be a tough, critical evaluator of your own speech as you prepare it, you'll watch your own personal growth develop. It's incredible.
Okay, and Kathy has a comment or a question.
Yes, thank you. A couple of quick questions or thoughts I have here. I, like all of us, have given many speeches, and up until 2 years ago when I joined Showtime, I felt I got a lot of those whitewash speeches where they say, oh, you're great, you're fantastic at this, you're blah, blah, blah. And I appreciate that. I mean, I appreciate that they enjoyed it, but they didn't give me anything to work with. So if you get an evaluation from someone who gives you something like that, some type of whitewash evaluation, and they don't offer any suggestions for improvement even, which is part of the evaluation process, how would I, as a speaker, go back to them and say, well, wasn't there something I should work on, or is there something that you think I'm a little bit weaker on than in other parts? Or do you just thank you very much and move on? That was my first question. Or then go to Showtime. Showtime will give you the truth, trust me. 2 times a night, they'll give you a truth.
the thing is, and I may see if there's someone here in the room that will add a comment after I finish adding mine. A lot depends on your club culture. Okay. In most of my clubs, there's a general evaluator, and we give the general evaluator permission to evaluate the evaluators. All right. That's one way, because you might not have to talk to them as a speaker. The general evaluator may include that in their evaluation, by saying something like, I understand that a presentation may be a challenging presentation to evaluate, but the job we have as evaluators is to find the things, the little things even, that we can comment on. And I encourage everyone to take that to heart when you are serving as an evaluator. So coaching like that can help then perhaps with that. Go to another member in the club whose opinion you value, and ask them what they thought about your speech. Just go get a round robin of your own until that evaluator can improve their evaluation skills, but the hope is that we get everybody up. That will come primarily from a general evaluator, if they have permission to evaluate the evaluators, or the vice president of education, whose job it is to ensure evaluations are as strong as they possibly can be from the club members. Those are the two areas I hold it accountable in.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and Kat has her hand up.
Oh, good. Kat, I was actually thinking of you. What do you think about this evaluate the evaluator thing?
I think it's something I took note of earlier on in the presentation as well, when you mentioned asking the speaker for permission to give a more critical, or not critical, hopefully constructive evaluation. And I wondered, is the converse true as well, where if you're giving a speech, maybe reach out to your evaluator, they've signed up ahead of time, and say, hey, I'm really looking for a little bit more of an eagle eye on my speech tonight. Can you kind of give me a tougher look when I give it?
Yeah. When we were still meeting in person, I had developed the habit of rocking on one heel while I gave a speech. I don't know where I picked it up. Somebody caught it, and included an evaluation they gave me, and that's how I became aware of it. And I didn't want to do that. It just looks like I'm antsy and I don't really want to be there, and and I'm not enjoying my own presentation. So I started asking my evaluators, call me out if I'm rocking on a heel, okay, on one of my heels, because I need to stop that. So I asked them for that. And as a speaker, you can coach your evaluator for specific things you want them to look for or listen for above and beyond the evaluation. And they'll either be open to doing that or they may not be, but yeah, it doesn't hurt to ask. Uh-oh, did they all leave?
No, I was waiting, and Shelley didn't disappoint me. She's back with another question.
No, it's not a question, it's a comment, because we were talking about, I want to piggyback of what Kat said, is because I usually ask the speaker if there's something if there's something to look for. And then when I give a speech, usually my evaluator will either email me ahead of time, or they will put it in the chat before I give the speech on that. Is there anything I need to watch for? Anything you want me to look for? And I tell them what to look for. And it works, because then they know what you're working on or you're trying to work on. However, sometimes when you do that, and they do what they don't want to do, and you don't give it to them in the evaluation, I never mind.
No, I understand what
But
you're
you
saying,
understand.
Shelley.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I understand because it's, I think a lot of us sometimes forget that that speaker evaluator relationship is a partnership. And we sometimes lose track of that. So I understand what you're saying.
And it's
Okay.
easy
Okay.
to do too.
Did everybody get their screenshot? Because I would like to stop my sharing. Hearing no objection.
I'm seeing nods. So
Okay, good. Now I can see everybody. I'm going to see all your smiling faces. Yay! What I sincerely hope that you have taken away from this presentation tonight is the fact that Pathways evaluation program can truly raise the bar on your evaluation skills when you use it the way it's designed to be used. Don't shy away from using those evaluation forms. If your club uses Free Toast Host and the speakers have signed up on Free Toast Host, you have the button right there to download that evaluation form for that project. It is so easy to get to. If not, you can always find evaluation forms for any Pathways project in the tutorials and resources area of Basecamp. They're listed alphabetically, so you just need the name of the project and you can find the evaluation form and download it from there. The easiest way is off Free Toast Host if your club is using Free Toast Host. When I won the district evaluation contest, it was when I opened my eyes that I really could be a good evaluator. Now, is that pretty crazy? I had to win the district to believe I could be a good evaluator. But I remember what somebody came up to me and said. They said, when you made this suggestion for that speaker, I knew you had won. And the suggestion was a body language thing that they had done in the speech. And I had just been to a workshop at a convention where they were talking about speaking in 3D and using the entire stage up, sideways, diagonally. And that triggered when I saw that speaker in the speech do that. It was so effective. And I used a line from the workshop, to help include it in my speech. I started paying a lot more attention then at the workshops that I was attending, and especially the way that world champions were breaking down speeches, how they explained why they won with that speech. Those are things that you can take advantage of. Those world champions are out on YouTube. You can listen to them anytime. You can practice evaluation if you want to. You get out of this program what you put into it. I'm not saying it has to become an 80-hour-a-week thing, but if you want to zero in on a specific skill, there are tools out there. And people like me, clubs like Showtime, we're happy to help point you in those directions if you can't find them on your own. But don't shy away from a really good tool just because it has the word Pathways on it, okay? We've seen enough of that over the last few years. Let's get beyond that and start using this program for the effective program that it is. I want to thank you so much again for being here tonight and for putting up with me once again on the evaluation workshop. But I welcome any feedback. I welcome any post-toasty feedback that comes back later. When you have a really great story, just shoot it to me in email. I would love to hear about it. But thank you again for your time and attention tonight. I appreciate it very much.
all right. And we all do appreciate what you've given us, Trish, this evening. I always love to hear the latest version in Good, Better, Best. So it's always a great opportunity. I also do want to take just a moment to remind everyone that this recording will be placed up on our YouTube channel for Showtime. And as you can see, we're also inviting any of you that would like to come by and actually watch what we meant by our A and B evaluations so that you would have an idea of how it can work in an expanded version for our speakers. We do meet second and fourth Mondays, so obviously we don't have one right away. So if you can plan to join us for the 11th, I think it's 11th, 14th. See, I don't have it in front of me, so you'll have to forgive me.
14th.
But please do feel free. And there, give me till Friday to get this up on the YouTube channel. You can search us out, Showtime Toastmasters on YouTube, and you will find us.